Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indie Comics Explained. And today I have yet another fantastic guest. But before we get to him, please like, subscribe, um, share out the video, let your friends know that we're doing independent comics creators, and we're bringing them on, and we're interviewing them, and we're trying to bring out more independent creators to everyone. Sorry for being a little flustered. I'm a little all over the place. I'm a little late. I got stuck on a train, so a 20-minute train ride took an hour and a half. So I'm a little out of my mind right now. So, but without further ado, and one more thing, please go check out my Indiegogo for the Oswald Chronicles. But now let's get on to our guest. This is the awesome Russell Brettholtz. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did, yep.
Okay, cool. From Sidekicks. And this is a book that I saw a few years ago, and I actually have a copy. Now, it'd be nice if I could find my copy. And I was just telling Russell, it's a little rough. You have a couple thousand trade paperbacks, and you're like, where did I put this thing? Because, being a typical comics fan, none of it's in order. So, you just read it, you stick it on the shelf, say, okay, you move on. But it's somewhere in there. So, Russell, let's get into it. We'll get to sidekicks in a little bit. Let's get into a little bit of Russell first. So I have my question I always like to ask. So little Russell, right? Obviously you were handed a comic or you found one, somewhere when you were a little kid, right? But that's not the part that's interesting. The part that's interesting to me is what was the comic that you found that made you say, yeah, this is what I want to do? What was that comic for you?
So I grew up on Archie. And my grandmother, whenever I would go to visit her, she always had new Archie comics for me. That was from around the time I was 8 years old. But the one comic, 12 years old, and my buddy at school gave me a copy of Excalibur #2. And he was like, Russell, you need to read this book. This is the book you're just going to love it. And I read it not knowing anything about, Excalibur as a book or about the X-Men, which, preceded Excalibur. And I loved it. The characters were incredible. The story involved, Mojo sending the werewolves to go track down Rachel Phoenix. And it was just like, this is amazing. And that was the one that put me, that sent me down the rabbit hole of every, X book that there was. I think X-Men, New Mutants, and X Factor were like the three other books with the X family at that time. And I started, with the back issues. But yeah, Excalibur #2 was the one by Chris Claremont and Alan Davis. That's an incredible book.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. That's incredible. So when you're working on your project, how do you first visualize, let's say, like when you first sat down and you said, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, what was your process for coming up with your ideas? Like, did you sit down and did you really come up with a deep plot? Did you write out every character one at a time and or did you go in there and just say, I'm just gonna, just start writing?
No, I'm pretty methodical with my writing. It actually causes me to be very, very slow in my writing. I'm in an Art Jam crew up here in Albany, New York, and everybody in that crew is like, Russell, when are you gonna put out another book? And I'm like, I'm working on it. It's like, I take it nice and slow because I really do want to know exactly what is happening in the book. I want to make sure the script is completely fleshed out before. Bringing it to an artist to start drawing, because the last thing you want to do is realize, halfway through the art, you needed to introduce something in the first chapter of the book that you didn't, Mm-hmm. So for me, with Sidekick in particular, for me it was born from getting fired. I was the assistant to a financial planner, and I was really good at my job. I was very dedicated. I was responsible, and I just whatever it was, I asked to be put on a promotional track, and just the arrogance of the guy that I was working for was like, no, that's not going to happen. And I very quickly got fired after that, for no particularly good reason that I was aware of. And, being a comic book fan, I was like, there's got to be a story here, for somebody who, is dedicated at their job and they're dependable, and yet they're still disrespected by the person that they work for, the boss. I felt like that was a story that a lot of people could probably, resonate with, and just making it a superhero sidekick relationship just seemed like the obvious way to go. So just from that, a sidekick gets disrespected by the hero that they work for, and what happens? And I thought to myself, well, what if this sidekick and all of the other sidekicks in the city go on strike? And so that was the starting point. And then from there, I do like to plot out kind of like in beats. It's like, so this happens first, this happens, this happens. Just little like an outline, but kind of a detailed outline of what happens. And I do bounce around a lot because sometimes I don't necessarily go from A to B to C. So for this book, for the first issue, mostly, I knew it had to end with the sidekicks declaring that they were going on strike. Like that was going to be the last page. Whatever came before it, that had to be the last page. So once I knew that, it was, okay, how do I open the book? I need a striking visual that is going to really encapsulate the theme and the tone of the book. And that came to me pretty easily, which was going to be the attempted suicide of our main character, Richard, aka Phantasm. And it's just this on Richard on that very first page. He's got the gun in his mouth, tears are streaming down his eyes. And everybody that I show that to, whenever I'm at a show, at a convention, and I'm pitching the book to people, that's always the first page I show them, because it immediately grabs them. They go, "Ooh, what's going on here? I need to turn the page and find out why this poor schmo is about to kill himself." And so I had my last page, I had my first page, and then it was just a matter of, okay, I need to introduce the characters. Who are the main characters? So I always like 5 as a number for a cast. Growing up on X-Men, I always felt that the best X-Men team had 5 people on it. It's an easier number to work with. I think 3 is not enough, and 7 gets kind of unwieldy. Everybody needs their own arc, and if you have 7 main characters, I don't know how you're supposed to do that in such a short amount of space. So 5 seemed doable to me. So then it was a matter of, okay, I need to introduce everybody. How many pages can I give to each character to kind of let the reader know who they are and what their story is? So Richard individually got the most pages because he's really the one driving the story. But then all of the other characters, I wanted to make sure I gave them at least 2 pages with either the heroes that they work with, to show the power dynamic and why they would be going along with the strike, or out in the real world, and how they interact with society. Because it's not just that the heroes in this world, the superheroes, disrespect the sidekicks, but it's also people disrespecting the sidekicks. Just society in general, and also the news media. So that there's a lot of reasons. It's not just, the superhero, takes me for granted. It's no. Everybody takes us for granted, and we need to show them why. So that's how I approached that first issue, and then it is the same way that I approach the rest of the series. Is okay because that first issue really wrote itself. It was originally going to be just a 3-issue miniseries. But I discovered once the first issue was done that I needed to expand it to 4, because just 3 issues just was not going to be enough to tell the story. And so once I knew that I needed 4 issues, it was okay. where do we end? That was always my first question is, issue 2, what is that final page? And issue 3, what is that final page? And issue 4, what is that final page? And I would kind of work my way backwards from there. Because you need good chapter breaks when you're doing a serialized comic. You don't want to leave in the middle of the story. You want to have a good hard break so that the reader can be satisfied with what came before it, but also anticipate what's coming next. So that was really my method was, okay, here's the last page of this issue, and now let me work backwards to figure out what I need to stick in to make the story flow from there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean the whole thing with trying to stick with fewer characters, 5, 4. I mean, I get it. I have read a group book, Tall Tales, and there's about 8 or 9 of them, and it gets a little unwieldy. It's like you're trying to tell everybody's story, and you're like, okay.
Yeah, and it's like, oh man, such and such character has not spoken or appeared on the page in 12 pages, and it's like that's not a good. We don't want them to just disappear. So how can I shoehorn them in but still make it organic and interesting?
Exactly. Then you start contemplating, who dies next.
Yeah.
Those tough choices. You're like, oh god. All right. So I mean, I find it interesting that you found the genesis of your story from like your real life story. So obviously you moved on from that. Now, moving forward, like you obviously got your story, you had your story in place. Now, how did you find your artist? Like, what was the process of going through that? Because I know finding an artist for any writer, especially indie guys, it's not easy. You go out there and you got to go looking. So how did it go for you?
So leading up to even when I was still in the writing process, I was on a couple of websites that were geared for creators. Comicbookresources.com actually has a really good forum for comic book creators. Digital Webbing is phenomenal for comic book creators in their forum. So I was pretty active on those 2 websites. And once I was getting close to having a completed script, I started looking at the artists who were sharing their portfolios on those sites. And one of them was Miguel Mendoza, he's currently drawing Aquaman over in DC, but this is back in I think 2012, so this is 8 years ago now. And he just shared a couple of his superhero images that he, sketches that he had done for different projects. They were all original. It wasn't Superman, Batman. It was original characters for this other comic book that I don't think ever wound up getting made. He did like 4 pages for the person.
Gotcha.
And just looking at those 4 pages, seeing his pencils, I knew immediately, like, that was the look. This was the guy who I needed to get to draw my book. So, just out of the blue, I emailed him and I was like, hey, I saw your stuff on Comic Book Resources. Is it okay if I send you my script? I think I'd be interested in hiring you if you're available. And he was like, yeah, absolutely, no problem. Send me the script. I sent it to him, and over the course of the weekend, we chatted back and forth. He really liked what he saw. And that's how I got Miguel to do that book. The only unfortunate thing was he was so good that he got picked up pretty quickly. He didn't have any published work when we started working together, but very quickly after that, he was getting a lot of work from Zenescope. And as a result of the Zenescope work, he wound up getting some work over at DC. I think his very first DC book was Wonder Woman when Meredith Finch was writing it. He drew the issue right before David Finch started to draw it. And then once he was in the door at DC, like, it was just off to the races. He started getting Green Lantern, Teen Titans, Detective Comics. So it was so great to watch that, but also so terrible because I had this one issue. By the time incredible artist who could not finish the series for me.
Right.
Like I said, I had there were 4 issues in that original story arc. And so then I had to go find a new artist to finish the other 3 issues. And, again, I went to digital webbing and I put out an ad and I said, here's the book, here's the art. I'm looking for somebody who can at least come close to matching this in style. And I wound up, you get so many interested parties. It's sometimes really hard to wade through just all of the art that people send. But the nice thing about already having worked with Miguel is I knew what I was looking for. So I could look at a couple of pages, know very, very quickly if it was the right style for the book. And I wound up settling on Bong Dazo, who had actually worked for Marvel prior to that. He did Moon Knight, he did Avengers: The Initiative, Deadpool worked with a mouth, those series. And so I was like, here's a professional who knows what they're doing, and his art style comes pretty close to matching Miguel's. So I wound up working with him, and it was great. He finished the series, those first 4 issues, which was fantastic. And I really didn't have a sequel in mind. That's actually what is out right now, is a new 5-issue arc that kind of just follows what the original story. And the problem was Bong passed away 2 or 3 years ago. So I couldn't bring him back to finish, to do the new series. So once again, it was back into the fray, hey, I'm looking for an artist. This is the style that I'm looking for. But I'm very, very lucky on Facebook, because by then, because back in like 2012, Facebook was around, but it's not what it is today.
Yeah.
And today there's a ton of Facebook groups that are dedicated to connecting writers and artists. And so I just went to one of those groups that I'm on, and I said, hey, looking for an artist, very specifically a penciler. I do like to have a separate penciler and inker, because I think the two, just having 2 separate, I think works a little better than having one person do both. So I was looking for a penciler, and Andre Portilla responded. And once again, the moment I saw his portfolio, I knew he was the guy. Because just his art was very distinct. His pencils were very tight, and he could tell a story. That's something, not all great artists can tell a story with their art. You can do a great pinup and be a cover artist. Doesn't mean you can do the inside of the book.
Yeah.
And Andre can, and it was very clear from the pages that he sent me. So that was a pretty easy decision. So when he sent me his portfolio, it didn't take very long to reach back out to him and say, absolutely, let's get started. And I sent him the script for the newest issue, which was chapter 5, which released last year, right around this time. Successful Kickstarter campaign, and that was the first issue in what's going to be a 5-issue arc, which is Sidekick Volume 2. Which I'm very uncreatively calling it.
Well, that's cool. So I mean, man, that's crazy. So you went through one guy who moved up the ranks and did what you're supposed to do. Unfortunately, he did it before you finished. You hired another guy who was just as great, and unfortunately, that gentleman, God rest his soul, is no longer with us. And now you're on to a new artist. Now, I mean, do you think he'll be around for Volume 3?
I hope so. I hope so.
Right.
He's fantastic. Although I would say, I like to think I've developed an eye for talent at this point.
Right.
He's going to be drawing for the big 2 at some point. Right. And when I say that, probably sooner than later. Like within 5 years, absolutely, I would put money on it. Drawing a big 2 book. I have no doubt about that.
Right.
I'm not even thinking, Volume 3 at this point. I'm thinking, God, let me get through the 5 issues of the series. And the nice thing is, chapter 5 is done. Chapter 6 is done. Chapter 7, he's halfway through. So it's 2 books. We can do But it's only a matter of time before he gets discovered. I have zero doubt about that. I think, and I'll be so happy for him when it happens.
Oh, no, of course, yeah. I mean, they're friends, and you want to celebrate, their triumphs. You want to, you of course you're gonna be happy for him. I'm pretty sure the first gentleman, what was his name, Carlos?
Miguel Mendoza.
Oh, Miguel Mendoza. Okay, so that was the first gentleman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you asked him, I'm pretty sure he would do a cover for you. Right?
If he had the time, and
right.
I don't even know if he's exclusive with DC, because I know DC does tie up their artists. But yeah, he did. Even though he didn't do the interiors, he actually did do the covers for chapters 2, 3, and 4, which was really great. Because I know how busy he was at the time, but he was like, I would like to still be involved with the project. He's credited as the co-creator of the book because it really was a lot of back and forth with him in the development of the series, particularly the look of the sidekicks and the main characters. But yeah, he did wind up doing the first 4 covers for me, which was fantastic.
Oh, that's cool. See, I mean, it's always good to hold that kind of relationship, together. I mean, you want to be like, wait, what do you mean you're moving on? Screw you, buddy. You don't want to have that type of attitude. You want to be happy for them. Because in the end, that's what most creators want. I don't know about you. I have no interest in working for the big 2. So.
It's funny. Like younger me, like that would have been the goal, and even older me thinks. That would be cool, but I don't have a story. I'm on Twitter, so I follow a lot of creatives on Twitter, comics, and they're all. There's a lot of talk about what you would pitch.
Right.
I don't have a pitch. Like my X-Men pitch would be, well, for starters, we're going to kill off all like 90% of the X-Men, so I can get down to a 5-person team. There, like.
Yeah.
And nobody at Marvel is going to say, "Oh yeah, that's a great idea. Let's bring in this nobody and give the X-Men to kill off." So it's funny. As much as like that would be awesome, to do a Marvel or a DC. I don't have a story for those books, so I'm perfectly content to work on my own stuff. And if one day. I get an email saying, "Hey, I read one of your books and we think you might be appropriate for this. Can we talk, from an editor?" Okay, sure. Let's have a conversation. Let's see where it goes. But, I just don't have any of that in my head,
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I worked in the '90s, in the mid '90s. I worked as a professional for about 2.5 years. But I learned that I don't like to pitch either. I'm like, just give me the job. I'll do something for you. And if you don't like me, just tell me to, go away.
Yeah, all of my ideas are nuts. Like my Batman story. I want to do a Batman book where you never see Batman. It's Bruce Wayne. And it is a strict Bruce Wayne as the CEO of Wayne Enterprises. And that's the book. Batman isn't anywhere in it. It's all about the intrigue. Corporate espionage, corporate intrigue. To read that book. Nobody wants to read that book. Nobody at DC is going to watch this and go, "Oh yeah, that's the book we need at DC. Let's get this guy."
I mean, but you know what? It might actually be a good book because it's funny. I'm reading. I still read some books from the big 2. I hear this book is good, and that book is good, so I'll pick them up and I'll read them. And it amazes me how I read them, especially the X books. There's like no superheroing going on. There's just people who generate some kind of problem for themselves, and they're trying to solve that problem they generated for themselves. It's not as rarely. I mean, there's no superheroics. There's not somebody going out saving some. No. Let me get the cat from the tree. No. None of that. It's Magneto has a problem with somebody else, or somebody else has a problem with somebody else, and they're all mutants. And they're all like, okay, well, how do we stop this guy from doing this thing that I had him do, but I don't want him to do it, and he did it wrong, so I got to go stop him. but it's my fault, but not really because it's his. And I'm just like, what the hell is this? I'm like, nobody saves people anymore. I was like, it's not about, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, it's not about superheroes anymore. It's an adventure comic. I was like, okay, that's what it is. Anyway, enough with that rant. But so now you originally were published by a publisher. Like, who was? Like I said, I was looking for the damn book, and I was like, where is it? I was like, it was driving me crazy. So who was the publisher, and how did you get involved with that?
So all of the issues for Sidekick were kickstarted because it costs me between $4,000 to $5,000 in art per issue, and I don't have that lying around.
Wait a second, hold on. Did you say 45,000 or
45?
Oh, okay, because I was like 45. I was like, you hired Arthur Adams?
No, 45,000 per issue. And so using Kickstarter is just really the best way for me to do that. I did it for every issue. And when I was running the Kickstarter for the first issue, I got an email from an editor at Darby Pop Publishing. And I had never heard of them before. I was not familiar with them because they were pretty new at that time. And they're still kind of a new publisher. And he had a lot of interesting things to say, but mostly it was, hey, we saw your book on Kickstarter, really like the idea, really like the art, would you be interested in it? And so, talking to the editor, talking to Jeff Klein, who's the publisher, talking to Renee Geerlings, who's the managing editor over there, we had really good conversations, and they seemed like a really good group for my book. And just a completely different thing of trying to pitch it to Image, which seemed like an idea, but it seemed really difficult also. I applaud everybody who manages to go through that route, but I really liked how easy Darby Pop made it for me to sign up with them, to have them publish the book. And so that's really how it came about, is just through the Kickstarter and being contacted by one of their editors. And since then, I do a lot of conventions with Darby Pop. So, the sales at the table are fantastic, and I get to meet the other creators that books for them. I get to, read all of the stuff that they're putting out, which is fantastic, by the way. If you're looking for really good books, particularly self-contained stories, which you don't get a whole lot these days, Darby Pop Publishing is the way to go, because they really view it as novels, as graphic novels. They want complete stories, and everything that they do. Yeah, they have the Bruce Lee book is one of their more recent. It's co-written by Bruce's daughter Shannon. Just amazing. That here we are 40 years later, and Bruce Lee can still be so relevant. So that's how I got together with them, and it's been fantastic. The new series is not under contract with Darby Pop. I do want to point that out. The way they do their publishing is they want completed works, and the new series isn't done yet. The full 5 issues. That's once the 5 issues are done, I'll be able to go to them and say, hey, I've got we're done. I've got a sequel to the book. There's no guarantee that they'll want to publish it. But like I said, I have a very good relationship with them. I do a lot of conventions with them. So I think the quality stands up to the first series. So so long as they're happy with it, I would anticipate that Darby Pop will publish the second series. But again, just no guarantees.
Gotcha. Okay. I mean, that sounds really cool. I mean, listen, you hang out with them, so I'm pretty sure there's like a 98% chance you're good.
I feel fairly confident, but again, I mean, lots of things can happen.
Well, this is true. I mean, the industry is a little crazy right now. So especially with the new distributors going on, and that's the whole thing.
Right. The way the distribution model is right now, like their first 5 books they released floppies, individual issues to the direct market before doing trades. And then starting with my book, they started only doing trades. They will digitally release the single issues, but they're only printing trade paperbacks now. So that's a little different model that they're doing. So it does change things a little bit. So how things change with like time and distribution and stuff. I don't know how that's going to affect Darby Pop going forward. And also there's mergers are always other publishers. You never know what's going to happen there. Like when originally Darby Pop was kind of an imprint of IDW. They were like IDW's creator-owned imprint.
Okay.
And then with my book, they shifted that from IDW to Magnetic Press. But then Magnetic Press got merged or bought out by Lions Forge, I want to say. So
yes.
Like so when that happened, Darby Pop decided not to go with them over there, but instead take everything in-house and publish on their own. So like you never know what's gonna happen.
Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's crazy. But it's cool that they're at least able to shift around that way, that they have the control to be able to do that.
Yeah. And that's one of the really nice things about working with Darby Pop is I do maintain control of the content. It's still creator owned. They don't own any of the intellectual property behind Sidekick. So that again, it's been really, really nice working with them.
Oh no, that's actually really cool. Now, getting a little bit back to process as far as the creation of what you're doing. You're gonna be the first person to ask this question to, so it'll be interesting. What is the portion of the process that you fear the most?
That's interesting because there's so much process involved. But if we're gonna go straight to writing, the thing that I dislike or fear, I guess, is action, which is crazy because it's a superhero comic.
Right.
But I do not like writing action because I really get into my head and I approach it from a very logical and methodical way. And I ask myself, okay, here are these characters, here are their powers. How is this fight going to play out? And depending on the powers on the page, it can play out really quick. Like, there's a speedster in the book. A speedster can handle 90% of any problem because they move so fast. Guy has, a gun. Well, the gun's gone now, so that's not an issue. That guy is, he's about to detonate a bomb. Well, no, that's not going to be a problem. So a lot of times it's playing the fight out in my head, saying, okay, this guy has this power, this guy has this power. How is that going to play? And what can I do to cancel out my overpowered characters so that it's a fair fight and it's interesting. You want your fight, your action sequences to be interesting. I can't just have, big action sequence, but no, the one person who has, who's just very strong, just wipes everybody out.
Right. You just don't want to show an explosion and say, okay, the fight's over.
Yeah, exactly. I have a character who, he can shoot plasma blasts from his hands. You don't want to have a fight sequence where all the bad guys are lined up and he just takes one shot and knocks them all down.
Right.
Fight scene's over. So for me, it's always, oh man, I've got this fight, and all right, how can I prevent this from being a one-panel fight? Not that I try to drag them out, because I don't. I try to wrap up those action sequences as quickly as I can. But yeah, that's what I dread. If we're talking about process, my dread is in the action, because you have to have it and it has to be interesting. it also needs to make sense. I can't stand it when I'm reading a comic and the fight just doesn't make sense. It's like, hey, Spider-Man, just punch the guy. You know, if you do that, he'll fall down. He's a normal human, and you press a truck. Like,
Right.
this is not difficult here.
Yep.
There's no reason for you to have a problem fighting this guy.
Yep. Dr. Octopus, last I checked, is just a dude with some metal arms on his back. You know,
Exactly. Punch him in the face. He'll get a concussion and fall down. Like, this is
that's it. You know, but yeah, it is one of the things that perplexes. You know, it's easy to perplex. You know, get like, what's going on here? You know.
Yeah. It's the thing that I watch for. Whenever I get to a fight scene, it's here we go. How do I, and I really do. I walk my way through it and I try to say, all right, how can I cancel out the superpower that will make this fight end super quickly?
That's a good way to go. It's a good way to go. I work with a very ultra powerful little mouse character, and like, I sit back and go, like, what am I going to do to torture him today? You know, that where he can't just, cast some ridiculous spell and get rid of it. So it's just like, you're like, so okay, so how do we do this today? So yeah, so I know exactly what you mean. It's one of those things. So with your artists now, what type of scripts are you writing? Are you writing like full detailed scripts, or are you writing like a Marvel style script where it's just like a little bit looser?
No, I do full scripts, panel by panel descriptions. I go so far as to give like the layout of the page. I won't say 3 rows, 2 panels per row kind of thing.
Right.
Unless I feel like I really need a particular sequence. Like I absolutely 100% need these 3 panels to be in a row at the bottom of the page, just because that's the pacing that I kind of envisioned when I was writing it. But for the most part, I think you really need to trust your artists to tell the story. I am not an artist, so I never know really how much space the artist is going to need. I generally know to keep it down to a certain number of panels, but even then, my very first script for that first issue, I think I had a 9 panel page, which everybody was telling me that's insane. You can't have 9 panels in a page. Your artist is going to hate you. And so I wound up combining it. I made it to 8. Is what I was able to get it down to. You got to really trust. You got to trust the artist to do it. But you also, I personally feel you need to give them a little bit more than just, here's what happens on the page. Because now you're no longer asking your artist just to kind of draw, from the script. Now you're really asking them almost to write the script.
Yeah.
Because that's when pacing really starts to become an issue, and what is important on the page becomes an issue. If you as the writer, and I appreciate some people work that way, and that's really fine, but I think when like for me, I'm hiring somebody that's really, it's collaborative without being a collaboration, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm paying people to realize my vision, and therefore I need to tell them what that vision is. And I don't think it's appropriate for me to say, I'm paying you to realize my vision and also come up with it, because I don't know what that vision is.
Right.
It's not enough to have, like in the old Marvel style, where, okay, so on this page, Spider-Man fights Dr. Octopus, and on the next page, Spider-Man, is buying groceries, but he doesn't have enough money. You're going for that now. I appreciate that works for some people, and I appreciate that works with certain collaborators, but for my particular series, and I think for a lot of creator-owned kind of stuff where the writer's the one directing what's happening, you really need to give a panel-by-panel breakdown. But also, know your artist, know what kind of script they like to draw from. Because some artists are going to tell you, no, be vague. and let me take control, because that's what they like to do. And other artists are going to tell you, no, give me as much detail as possible, so that when I give you a page, you're not sending it back to me saying, yeah, that's not what I was looking for. Because if there's one thing I've learned, pencilers hate having to redo panels, let alone whole pages.
This is very true. Mm-hmm. Very, very true. Very, very true. Now, so your Kickstarter that's currently running, how many more days do you have left for that?
We got 8 more days. It ends on Friday, August 7th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Now, are you trending to have you already met your goal? Are you trending to?
We're very, very close. It's a $3,000 goal, and the last time I checked, we were at $2,810, I think. So what are we, $190 off? So it's doing well. Obviously, I would like to be over that $3,000 mark, but I'm confident we're going to get there.
Yeah, you're gonna make it. Statistically, you're gonna make it.
Exactly. I think it's like 91. I'm at 91%.
Right.
I believe the statistics are 99% of projects that get to 91%, get to the goal.
Yeah, especially with 8 days left.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's not like you need an extra $100,000. You just need a few $100. Yeah, you're gonna make it. You'll be fine. Right. That's awesome. So I mean, now let me ask you a question that I've done a lot of Kickstarters. Obviously, you've done a lot of Kickstarters. So I mean, I know for myself what extra cash means. Okay, now I know what it means for me. What does it mean for you? So if you were to raise an extra $1,000, what does that mean for you and your project?
Right now, it means being able to finish the next issue, because man, this has been a tough year. 2020 really was a kick, in the stomach, because once I had the first volume, those first 4 issues. Once I had that trade paperback that I could sell, I started hitting the convention circuit, and I was able to get a really nice kind of trove, war chest. That's the word I was saying. A war chest of money to put towards a sequel.
Right.
And I had enough that I was able to pay for all of the art for the 5th issue. And the Kickstarter last year was just to get it printed. So it was a $3,000 goal, and that's always what that represents. That $3,000 goal isn't art. That is for printing and shipping and stuff like that. And so that worked out great. And I was able to do that again. I had enough for the 6th issue, which is what's on Kickstarter now, but not the 7th issue. I was able to get the 7th issue started. Right. But now I'm starting to run out of money again from that war chest, and I don't have conventions to beef it up. I think I've missed already 3 or 4 conventions in 2020, and a couple of $1,000s that I would have been able to put back into the series. Right. So right now with the Kickstarter, anything over that $3,000 goal means being able to finish the next issue, which is huge. Now, I dip into my personal comic book collection. Like I said, I've been collecting comics since I was 8, and I've got a pretty big collection. And I've amassed, some really nice, some key books. And every once in a while, if I feel like I need to, I'll dip into that. And just as an example, I have 4 books that I got signed by Stan Lee over the years. One of them was an Amazing Spider-Man number 50, which is the first appearance of the Kingpin. So key book, written by Stan, signed by Stan, and I got it graded by CGC. I've had it for over 10 years. I think 10 years ago is when I had Stan sign it. Right. And I've owned the book, I don't even know how long. I honestly can't remember when I first bought it. I had it for so long. But I needed a cash infusion because I needed to get Andre started on the pencils for chapter 7. And that was the book. I put it up on eBay. I was like, here we go. Here's this great book signed by Stan Lee. And but it got me the money that I needed to get over to Andre to start the next series. So anything above the 3,000 on the Kickstarter goes right back into the book, and it's huge because, you know, as much as I am willing to go into my personal collection to keep my book going, because the calculus on that is not difficult. You know, either, you know, have this, you know, key book that, you know, means something to me, or have my own book, which means a little bit more, you know. So that's a no-brainer for me, but I prefer not to. You know, I would like to keep that collection intact as much as possible because, you know, I did work very hard to put that together. You know, that was a lot of summer jobs, you know, saving up the money for, you know, that one convention, you know, that dad would drive me down to the city for, and I'd find one book that was going to be the book that I was going to get. So, you know, every single book in my collection means something to me, and always having to part with it is difficult. But at the end of the day, that's, you know, it's worth it because I'm trying to, you know, get something of my own created.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, one time early on when I was first doing the Oswald Chronicles, I had to come up with cash. At the time, I was playing online poker, and I had a decent amount of money in my account, but I never touched it. And I was like, damn it, I got to pay my artists. So I just yanked a big chunk of it out, and I was like, well, okay, this is going to that. And then the good thing was that I did that because about 6 months later, that's when the U.S. government put the kibosh on all those sites. And all my money, well, I didn't have much left because I took out most of it, but whatever I had left, gone. Oh, yeah, because they
didn't get it out. It just got swallowed up.
Oh, yeah. All that stuff was gone. I don't know what happened to it, really.
It went to the government.
Huh?
I said it went to the government.
Probably. I mean, see, and I don't feel bad because I started most of those accounts with like $100, and I just built from there. So I, you know, one account I started with $5 they gave me. I didn't even put any of money, and I just, you know, built it up to a few grand, and I said I didn't really care. I was like, all right, whatever. You know, I was just having fun.
It's house money. You can have it back.
Exactly. Well, but no, I managed to pull a lot of it out to pay her. So, so, you know, so I got lucky. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes you got to make those sacrifices to pay the artist. You're like, okay, look, I want this done. I don't know about you. I consider it my very expensive hobby. You know, and that's how I roll. So, yeah. But so we've been at this for a little while. We're coming close to the end, but we're not there just yet. So I got a few goofy questions I want to ask you, but before we get to that, though, first, please let everybody know where they can find you and your work.
Okay, so if you're on Twitter, you can find me at Sidekick Comics, and comics is spelled with an X at the end. If you're on Facebook, Sidekick Comics, except this time it's spelled with a CS. I don't know why. I forget why it happened that way, but when I first signed up for the accounts, that's the way it went down. If you want to email me, man, I'm confusing everybody tonight. If you want to email me directly, it's sidekickscomics@gmail.com. So instead of sidekicked with an ED, it's sidekicks with an S. Because the series was originally called Sidekicks. And anybody who actually backed the first 4 issues on Kickstarter, all of their books say Sidekicks. But when Darby Pop picked it up for publishing, they felt that title was too close to Sidekick, which was a book by J. Michael Straczynski.
Right.
And they wanted to make it a little bit more different. So we came up with Sidekicked as an alternative title. But I had my email address, and I didn't want to change it. So sidekickscomics@gmail.com.
Gotcha.
But as I mentioned earlier, I am part of an art collective here in upstate New York. And we all operate under the umbrella catatomicsstudios.com. And that's atomic with an M, like cat atomic, as opposed to, you know, play on catatonic. But
right.
So if you go to catatomicsstudios.com, you'll find me there, as well as all of the other artists and writers in the group, all very talented people. So definitely check that out. And of course, you know, the Kickstarter is Sidekicked. And if you just go to the search and put in Sidekicked, you'll find that.
All right, cool. Well, I'll get all that stuff in the show notes. So I make sure you send me the links, and I'll put all that stuff in the show notes so people at least can easily find it. All right, awesome. Now, before we move on to my goofy questions, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to be asked or you wanted to discuss?
I feel like we covered it, but I do want to say, I talked about Andre a lot, who's the penciler on the book. I do want to mention the rest of the art team, though, because they are all fantastic. My inker is Kepler Perchner, who is out of Portugal and is fantastic. Again, this is somebody who's going to be inking for a major publisher someday, provided that the major publishers still have inkers, which they should. You can see the difference in the book when they don't use an inker. When they go straight from pencils to colors, you can tell. And I think it's an inferior quality book when you see that. But Kepler, just an incredible inker, really does a great job of touching up those pencils. My colorist is Colin Patrick Moore, who has been the colorist since the first issue. He has been every single issue has been Colin, and just knocks it out of the park every single time. I could not be happier. And my letterer is HDE. I don't know what it is with letterers and having these weird names, but or the handles that they go by. But HDE, again, somebody who's been with me since that very first issue and is just phenomenal, always gives me exactly what I'm looking for. So I did want to mention that. The cover artist for Chapter 6, this newest issue, is Nicole Jelinek, who's in the Art Jam crew up here. And she is phenomenal. I could not, once again, just, it's funny with my panel descriptions and my scripts, I'm very descriptive. With the covers, I'm terrible at covers. I remember the very first cover, I think I asked Miguel for just a team shot. Give me the 5 main characters like in a heroic pose. And he sent me back something. He was like, I don't like that. This is what I think we should do instead. And it was this amazing, the Phantasm, the sidekick, front and center, and he's getting slapped in the face with the cape of the superhero. And I looked at that and I was like, holy crap, that's fantastic. Because he captured the entire theme of the book in one image. And I was like, I would never have thought of that in a million years. So with covers, I say, here, just give me, vaguely this. And I so I think for Nicole on this issue, I said, give me a cover that's Phantasm fighting, one of the creatures that are the bad guy in the book. And that was, and then, then she gave me the cover and I was like, yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. So that is the creative team on Chapter 6. And I did want to mention them because they are all phenomenal. And I'm hoping and optimistic that I will get them all back for issue 7 as well.
Cool. Now you're doing a great job, so I think you will. I think you will. So now, all right, let's move on to some of these wacky questions that I have. So first, we already kind of touched on it a little bit because this question is about. All right. First, if you had the choice of any artist, living or dead, don't worry about the budget. Don't worry about that. We have that covered. To do a cover for you, who would you get?
Yeah, that's wow. That's interesting because I don't think because now I'm thinking of like style, But if I just blow it all out, I'd probably have to go with Alex Ross.
Okay.
I mean, just
fair enough.
Amazing artwork. And I'm crazy. And, it's funny because even like, because his style is not anything, like what my book is. But you're given an opportunity to get a cover by Alex Ross. How the hell do you turn that down?
True. Yep. Yeah. You'd be a fool. All right. Good answer. Now, like I said, this one we touched on a little bit. So if you had the golden ticket and they called you up to the big companies, with the exception of Batman, what book would you want to do, and what art team would you get to do?
But it would have to be X-Men, because that is what I grew up on. I grew up on Chris Claremont's X-Men, and to have an opportunity to play in that sandbox, that's the one that I would want to do. As far as an art team goes, I mean, I'm gonna discount anybody that I've worked with already, because I don't want to insult anyone by saying one person over another. How do I even sort that out? Wow, that is a really tough one. I don't know that I can do that. I don't know that I can
just pick that art team.
Yeah.
Well, even if it's just a pencil. Huh?
I don't know that I could just. I don't know that I could pick an artist out of living or dead. Like, how do you do that? It's. I don't think. Alan Davis. You know what?
Okay.
I'm going to go back to Excalibur #2. The book that started it all for me. So Alan Davis. If I get Alan Davis to draw my X-Men, there we go. That's
okay. That's fine. That's why. He's still out there. He's still working. He's still doing fantastic work. So, he will always be Alan Davis. He's always fantastic. So, all right, cool. Now, I have a few comparatives that I like to do. All right, so, I'll softball you in the beginning. So we'll go easy, and then we'll work our way into the more the interesting ones. Captain America or Batman?
Batman.
Okay. Godzilla or Gamera?
Godzilla.
Okay. Kirk or Picard?
Whew. What's my criteria? What are we doing?
That's entirely up to you.
Oh man, I think I got to go with Kirk.
Okay. Gaiman or Morrison?
Oh, Gaiman. That's not even no disrespect to the Morrison fans out there, but no, not even close.
Okay, fair enough. Byrne or Perez?
Byrne.
Okay. Stan Lee or Jack Kirby, and why?
It's interesting because we're doing different things, because Stan was a writer, Jack. Well, I mean, Jack was kind of writing those books too, but so then I'm gonna go Kirby on this one, just because he really did so much. The amount of output he was able to create, based on very little information from Stan. So I gotta go with Kirby.
Okay, that's fair. All right, we've done a few of these, so I'll ask you a couple more and we'll wrap up. So let's see. Okay, we'll go with this one. This one should be interesting. Frank Miller or Alan Moore?
Alan Moore.
Okay, fair enough. Lord of the Rings or Star Wars?
I didn't read Lord of the Rings until I was in grad school. And I hated every minute of it. I forced myself through every stinking page of the books, which is funny because I liked The Hobbit. I started with The Hobbit. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I can't wait to see what happens next. And then I started reading Fellowship, and you get to Tom Bombadil, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Why am I reading this? Why does it take 3 pages to describe a mountain? So Star Wars. I know people love Lord of the Rings, but dear God, was that a slog to get through.
Yeah, okay. That's definitely fair enough. I'm asking one more. Another one that may or may not be tough for you. It depends, Sandman or Swamp Thing, and when I say Swamp Thing, I mean Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this real easy. I've read neither.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that does make it easy. Okay, fair enough. That makes it easy. All right, so we made it to the end. Russell, this was fantastic. Sorry for being late, but like I said, I live in New York. Subways, man.
Yeah, no,
They're a thing. So please, one more time, let everybody know where you can, where they can find you, your Kickstarter, and everything else that's going on.
So definitely head over to Kickstarter. Search for Sidekicked. That's SIDE-KICKED. Although honestly, without the hyphen, you're going to find it anyway. Sidekicked Comics on Twitter, Sidekicked Comics on Facebook, and Sidekicks Comics if you want to reach me directly at gmail.com. And then catatomicstudios.com if you want to see what the rest of my crew is putting out.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Please share, like, subscribe. Let everybody know we're here. And once again, check out my Indiegogo. Check out Russell's Kickstarter. Those books are awesome. Like I said, I have the trade paperback somewhere in my collection. I have read it. I really enjoyed it. And that's why I'm looking forward to the next one. So thank you so much, everybody. And please, like I said, go check those books out and help support some indies. I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.